Well, the South African Textile and Garment Workers Union, Clothing and Textile Workers Union, SACTU, I beg your pardon, and COSATU are going to be watching this budget very closely as well. And I think you might be concerned, for example, if VAT was increased, would you or not?
Most definitely. And, you know, being affiliated to COSATU, SACTU also took it upon itself to raise our objections in terms of government's intention to increase VAT. So we have made it very clear. We were also fortunate to have an engagement, you know, from the department that personally set up an engagement with us to hear what our big concern is. And that went down quite well. So we would definitely not want to see that government is going to go ahead and still increase VAT, because it will have a very negative effect in terms of the current unemployed in particularly. And needless to say, we still have a large group of people that is in the very lowest income group, and how would they be able to survive should VAT be increased?
So you're totally opposed, obviously, to VAT. But do you think now with an election year, it's likely that they will increase it? I mean, there's a lot of pressure from business.
That's a tough question. And yes, as there's pressure from business, there's also pressure from labor. Even though we're supportive of the current government, that does not mean that we accept everything that government brings to the table. And I think labor has always taken its stance in terms of protesting when they disagree. We don't, as COSATU, sit still and not let our voices heard. So yes, government knows that is one of the areas which is a no-go zone in terms of the increase of VAT. If there is going to be a need to do so, then they must look at other issues like, you know, the kind of luxury stuff.
Well, what sort of things to raise the money? You know, the one thing about VAT, is that it can raise money quickly, easily, and in large quantities. So how would you, if you were the Minister of Finance, you now need to raise some extra money, how are you going to do it?
Look, there's luxury stuff which is not a necessity that government can look at and increasing VAT on those things.
What sort of items?
Look, if I can, for argument's sake, who needs a car? There's public transport. There's other areas in terms of equipment, electrical equipment. They can increase VAT on those kind of things.
And things like Maseratis and Ferraris and those.
Precisely. And then you also have, and here, you know, my mother was a chain smoker, but she would say, irrespective of how much the cigarettes goes up, she will make sure that she has a packet. But, you know, those are the kind of things that government needs to look at.
Do you think they will increase the price then? Or you wouldn't mind them increasing the price on cigarettes?
I wouldn't mind at all.
And what about a sugar tax? For example, if there's a tax on sugar, and that means also soft drinks.
Look, if there's certain issues that is going to be exempted from being taxed, then even though those areas might have an impact, but it will then be minimal, because some of the things is a necessity. If you look at the poor, there's very little things that they can afford nowadays. You know, if you look in terms of food, basic food stuff, even though there's no VAT in it, but look at the increase of these prices. Who can afford it at the end of the day? So business would always find a way to add or sort of offset that increases. Somewhere they find a way to manipulate the system. So and if government is still going to do that, I mean, it's a double punishment on our people.
Well, for example, you talk about taxes and you talk about luxury goods. But what about corporate taxes, which used to be, I don't know, 45, 48%? They're now 28%.
Now so low. I mean, it's ridiculous if you look at those kind of taxes, because, you know, a lot of, say, the corporate, they are not really creating jobs at all. If you look in terms of what's happening, and those things were made, in my understanding, because of job creation. But you don't see these businesses and corporate growing, that they're looking at the need of the economy. You don't see that. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, and I'm sure, you know, COSATU will agree with that, that is one of the areas that needs to be re-looked at, and it must be increased.
So what you're really saying is the basic priority should be tax the rich if you need more money.
Correct.
Thank you very much indeed, Sheila.